So today we're going to be talking about body trust and intuitive eating with Natalie Joffe. She'll be joining here in just a moment, but she's a personal friend of mine in a book club. And then we both left Seattle. Hello.
Oh,
We both left Seattle, but she ended up moving a stone's throw away from my clinic in North Bend, Washington.
yeah,
So we reconnected
I
lately.
know. No, I love it being in the valley.
Yeah, so beautiful.
Yeah, good to see you and excited to be here.
Yeah, hopefully we can keep it pretty short and sweet today, but I think it's such a valuable topic for people that are following both of us.
Yeah, definitely. And I love how menopause and just symptoms is becoming much more of the norm in terms of conversation. I feel like it's something that wasn't really talked about
Yeah.
for so. And I definitely see a lot of people going through this phase of life in my practice. And obviously, this is your specialty. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'll just introduce myself quickly. I'm Vanessa Weiland. I'm a nurse practitioner, a certified hypnotherapist. I'm a menopause specialist, and I own Phases Clinic in North Bend, Washington. I also do telehealth throughout Washington State.
I'll introduce myself. I know you shared a little bit about me, but I'm an intuitive eating nutrition counselor. And so I help people let go of diet culture and break free from that chronic on the wagon, off the wagon. And I work virtually. Most of my clients are here in the Pacific Northwest, but I see clients all over the country. So yeah.
Natalie, I was looking at your bio to prepare for this, and I realized that your bachelor's was in psychology with a focus in neuroscience, and I was cracking up because my bachelor's was in neuroscience with a focus in psychology. So,
I'm from your roots. Yeah, originally I started off in healthcare research in the Alzheimer's and brain trauma world, and then ended up
okay.
in nutrition. So it's always funny how the life path we all take.
Yeah, I did neuroscience research for a couple years, and then I moved into medicine as well. So we've been on a similar path.
Yes. And here we are.
Here we are. So I think you've kind of gotten, the root of what you do, but do you want to explain a little bit more about why you're seeing so many women that are going through the menopause transition?
Yeah. So generally, I find that clients reach out to me in points of transition, times when their body is changing. So adolescence, postnatal, and then also menopause. Most women gain weight during this time, which
Yeah.
I'm helpful probably for you to share. I mean, why that is. I mean, it's a normal thing that bodies do to support us through this phase. The diet culture that we live in, it can bring up a lot of body image issues and struggles. Appetites change, our sleep can sometimes become disrupted. And so the response generally for a lot of women is to start to diet, to try to fight their body. And this just ends up leading them on the wagon, off the wagon. And usually these attempts don't work. And so then when, for many of them, they get to a point where they're ready to stop battling their body. And that's when they reach out to me, when people are wanting to, make peace with food and body image. And how do I show up for myself during this time?
Yeah, I hear from so many women that throughout their 20s and 30s, they kind of figured out something that worked to kind of keep them at a stable weight and feeling their best. And then all of a sudden it just starts to fall apart somewhere in their 40s. Very common through the menopause transition as your estrogen levels decrease. You might not necessarily have a change in weight, but you notice a change in body composition. So it's harder to maintain muscle mass and bone mass, but you do tend to gain some of the adipose tissue, the fat, particularly around the midsection.
Yeah.
And Natalie, you and I were talking about how this is probably actually evolutionary adaptation because fat cells can make another form of estrogen. So your body's trying to do its best to help you out with hot flashes and things, but in our modern society, it's not usually so well appreciated.
Exactly. And so a big part of the work I do is holding space for both two realities. One, you don't have to like it. It's so normal to be frustrated, to feel like, okay, my clothes aren't fitting the same, or the way that I move through space feels differently. Of course, you feel frustrated and you wish that wasn't the case. And this is our body showing up for us. This is our body doing what it's meant to do, and how to hold space for both of these things and show up with care and respect. The world around us is telling us that, well, you should just exercise more and eat less, and your body should change. And this is a you problem, and you just need to be better.
And that strategy doesn't tend to work so well in this phase of life either.
Yeah.
Okay, I do have a few questions for you that I collected before we came. I'm going to start with what I think is a softball, which is, are there any foods we should be entirely avoiding in perimenopause and menopause?
Yeah, of course. So you probably already know what my answer will be. I'm very much in the camp of that. All foods fit. And when I work with a client, I'm never going to tell them like, don't eat something.
Mm-hmm.
You know, our body during this time can be more, you know, less stress resilient. And so things like caffeine and alcohol are going to impact us more than they would in our 20s. So there are some nutritional things that can come up during this phase, but I really like to think more on like adding things in. So
Yeah.
think, how do I stabilize my energy, especially if like sleep is getting disrupted during this time, or I'm more tired during the day. And so adding in things like some nutritional density, some protein, some fiber. And if you want the candy bar, it's like, that's okay. So add things in order to balance out that big picture. So that's how I approach that question.
No,
Yeah.
I agree. Clinically, I usually say let's think more about what we can add rather than what we should take out. Although I do say go ahead and ditch the soda. That's the one that I say, if you can live without it, that's really, really not doing you any favors.
Yeah. And there are, like, I think with intuitive eating, sometimes there can be this misconception that intuitive eating is saying that like everything is healthy. We're not saying that soda and water are nutritionally equivalent,
Yeah.
but that morally equivalent.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, many different ways that we can show up for our health, and being able to get to a point where it's not a moral decision. We get to approach a meal and to decide what is going to feel the best, like what's going to taste up in the way that I want it to. And part of intuitive eating is gentle nutrition. And that might look like, okay, like soda is going to be a, you know, large amount of sugar, and how, you know, how is that going to make me feel? Is there something else that I could have that's equally refreshing, that is maybe more nutritionally dense? And sometimes we just want to know one meal or drink is going to make or break anything. Being able to make those decisions in a very morally neutral way.
Did you say it's called gentle nutrition?
Yeah, gentle nutrition.
What came first, gentle nutrition or gentle parenting?
Yes, a good question, but I'm not a parent myself, but I'm high level familiar with gentle parenting. I think I wonder which came first. That's a good question.
Yeah, well, it's probably a little bit of a similar idea.
Right, exactly.
Okay. So the next question, in a world full of diet culture, how do you approach intuitive eating in a way that helps your clients feel supported?
I think a big piece is just recognizing and helping my clients to name what is diet culture, because it's so commonplace that it can feel like the capital T truth, like this idea of that like living in a larger body is bad, and accept that, or like there's an obesity epidemic. It's like, well, actually, where does this come from, and is that actually true? And so dispelling some of these health myths that are out there. And then in one of the first sessions when I'm working with clients, I break down what I call the diet cycle, and I help explain some of the nutrition psychology and help share with clients why they're getting caught in this pattern of feeling reactive around food, have no willpower, and sharing that it's not their fault. It's we're set up. If we try to control food, the natural psychological response is going to be to feel reactive, to feel addicted to sugar in particular. So yeah, helping people call out what is diet culture, to know that this is fault, and that we need to approach things differently versus trying harder at the same thing.
It's like if you tell someone not to think about a purple elephant.
Exactly. And this idea of full permission, which is another one of the principles of intuitive eating, is one that can be easily understood intellectually, but more difficult to put into practice. And having support can be really helpful. But essentially, when we truly believe that we can have ice cream or whatever, whenever we want, only then can we ask ourselves the question, do I even want the ice cream? Because if I'm telling myself that I shouldn't have it or don't think about the purple elephant, it's not a choice. It's like, I want it.
Yeah, it's like an override of your brain.
Exactly. The inner toddler that lives within all of us.
That's right. And the living one that I have in my household that
yes, you have
reflects that back to me all the time.
Yeah.
The last one I think will hopefully give us some actionable tips, which is how do you deal with those snacky cravings when you know that something has no nutritional value, and maybe like us, you work in healthcare?
Yeah. Great question. And one that comes up all the time in my work with clients. And first, we have different types of hunger. So I want to say to start off that it's okay to sometimes eat when we're not physically hungry. Sometimes we may want like taste hunger. I'm not physically hungry. I just had lunch, but they're sampling their new yummy whatever, and I want to try it. We have experiential hunger. I'm in Italy. Gelato is part of the experience. We have emotional hunger. I'm tired, stressed, bored. And then we have that physical hunger, which on a more significant level is my stomach is growling. So just to start off, we have different types of hunger. And part of intuitive eating is being able to drop into our body and to ask ourselves, am I hungry? What type of hunger is this? And what is going to fill me up in the way that I want it to. So bringing it back to client comes into my office, or the person who wrote in this question of like, I'm noticing that I'm like craving, say it's like I'm craving cookies and I just want cookies. I'm not physically hungry. Being able to drop in to identify, okay, is this, taste hunger? Is it emotional hunger? Trying to look at what actually needs to be fed. Could be, there's many different sources. So it could be that this person is on a diet or has the diet mentality and they're saying, okay, I shouldn't eat cookies. And they've been really like good all day and they had their salad for lunch and the craving is just building because this food has been off limits. And so in that case, it's going to be working on big picture, letting go of the diet mentality and starting to let go of the morality in food. It could also be a satisfaction issue. It could be that maybe the person's snack options are either like raw broccoli and celery sticks or cookies. And if there's a lack of satisfaction, of course, they're going to be like, oh, I want the cookies. The cookies are the only good thing that I get. Like, I'm so excited about this. Whereas if they had more nutritionally dense variety of options, that might be a thing. Or it could be like emotional hunger. And so again, I think like big picture, being able to figure out what is it that I'm hungry for. And sometimes it's just like, no, I eat intuitively. I'm not physically hungry. And I just really want a cookie. And it's like, awesome. Okay, eat the cookie, enjoy it, like move on. And if it's partially physical hunger, I usually recommend having something more nutritionally dense along with the cookie so that it can help you connect with those fullness cues more easily. And you get satisfaction and satiation. So long answer to your question, but it's a complex.
No, it's so needed. Yeah. Sounds like it's really about awareness and removing value judgments where they don't need to be there. And, what am I really hungry for? Do I really just need a hug?
Yeah, exactly. And whatever you do, don't try to use willpower to just not have the cookie or whatever it is. Sometimes we do some compassionate parenting. Like if your child asks for ice cream at 8 a.m., we might say no, but not because it's bad and it's going to make you gain weight and become a terrible, because we need some brain food to get your day going and we can totally have ice cream later. So sometimes we do that for ourselves, and that's different than using willpower and white knuckling it.
I think that makes a lot of sense. And I've heard really good advice, which is like roll out a red carpet for yourself with things that you want, the habits that you want to instill. So like you're saying, like having a variety of healthy snacks that are like the things that are the most visual or the easiest to reach or whatever the case might be, can kind of make it easier on yourself.
Definitely. Yeah. Sometimes it's just environmental. I call it like environmental engineering. Like if I don't have available, or I know something that comes up often is clients will be like at dinner time stuck not knowing what to eat. And it's like, if all you buy is like ingredients from the store and expect yourself to always have the energy to cook, we'll get into trouble. But having some frozen options, pre-made options will allow us to be successful.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Natalie. Anything else you want to say before we get off of here?
I think covered some really good topics and points. And menopause is it's something that over 50% of the population will go through. And my hope with clients is really to help people approach it with body respect. And I think that's where our culture really does us a disservice. There's just so much pressure on, well, you should lose the weight or fight what your body is trying to do. And I think for the sake of mental and physical health, we can end up in such a better place when we meet ourselves with kindness and compassion, while also holding space for frustrations that come with an aging body. So,
well, things can be true at once.
Exactly.
Well, I want everyone to know that Natalie sees people all over the country and even world, right? So if her message aligned with you today, you can reach out, and she'll be collaborating on this post. We'll have it up later too.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Natalie.
All right,
Take care.
bye.
Bye.